Hi, this is Mrs. Rodriguez with another lesson video. Today we're looking at how to combine like terms that have negatives, and we're going to be using algebra tiles. But first I want to review the almighty and powerful number 0. Okay, so if you add two numbers and the sum is 0, what do you know? Well, we know that they are the same number but opposite signs. For instance, if we have 1 plus a negative 1, it would equal 0. If you add 0 to a number, how does it change the number? Does not change the number. So in fact, you can add 0 to anything and the number will still remain the number. So for instance, 1 plus 0 equals 1, and negative 1 plus 0 equals negative 1. And last but not least, if you multiply a number by 0, what do you know about the product or the answer? Well, we know if you multiply 0, the product or answer will always equal 0. So 1 times 0, 0. Negative 1 times 0. 0. It doesn't matter what 0 multiplies with, it's always going to equal 0. Now you might be wondering, why are we going over these special properties of the number 0? Well, that's because today we're going to be combining like terms that have negatives, and we're going to be doing this by finding 0 pairs. Now, before we begin, let's take a look at our algebra tiles. On the left, we have the positive algebra tiles, which you'll notice are colored in gray. That's what we've been using for positive tiles. On the right-hand side, we're now going to introduce negative tiles. Negative tiles are the same as the positive tiles, except they're negative. So all the sides are the same, okay? And they're going to be white. So we have gray tiles, positive, white tiles, negative. Now, what do I mean by 0 pairs? Well, here you'll notice we have a positive x squared tile and a negative x squared tile. If we combine those together, we add them together, they're the same number but opposite signs. So we know when we add them together, it will equal 0. Okay? And the same goes for the two x's. If you add a positive and negative of the same number and combine them, you get 0. Just like with positive 1 and negative 1. Positive 1 plus a negative 1 is 0. So these are 0 pairs. And we're going to be using the positive and negative algebra tiles with the purpose of, can we make 0 pairs? Because if we can, we know that those 0 pairs equal 0 and cancel each other out. And then all we have to worry about are what tiles are left after we've canceled out all the 0 pairs, and that will be our answer. So let's get started. Here we have our first set of tiles. Now the thing you want to do is start with x squared. I have a negative x squared there, and now I'm going to see, can I make a 0 pair? Are there any positive x squareds? No. So I'm going to move on to the x's. And I'm going to see, can I make any 0 pairs with my x's? And yes, I can. Remember, a gray one's a positive, a white one's a negative. So that means these two would be a 0 pair, and they would cancel each other out. Now for the ones, once again, I have a 0 pair right here. So they would cancel each other out. And now for the answer, all I have to look at is what tiles do I have left after making 0 pairs? Because remember, these cancel out. So I have one negative x squared tile plus one positive x minus 1, because I have one negative 1 tile. And that is my answer. All right, let's try another one. Write a simplified expression for this collection. Okay, once again, I'm going to start with my x squareds. I see 2 negative x squareds, but I don't see any positives, so I can't make any zero pairs there. For my x's, it looks like I have 3 positive x's, the 3 gray ones, and only 1 negative white x tile. So that means these two could be a zero pair and cancel out. Now I look at my 1 squares. Here's 1 white and 1 gray, so I know those two would cancel each other out. And then my answer is going to be writing what I have left over. I have 2 negative x squares plus 2 positive x's minus 3, because I have 3 negative 1 tiles. And that's my answer. Okay, let's look at another one. Once again, I'm going to try to find my zero pairs. So I'm going to start with the x squareds. Do I have any? No. And that's okay. I'm going to move on. Do I have any x's? Yes. And I want one positive and one negative to make a zero pair. So I know there's a positive and negative. They cancel each other out. Here is another positive and a negative, so they cancel each other out. And now I'm going to move on to the 1 tiles. Here's one set of a zero pair, so they cancel each other out. And here is another zero pair, so they cancel each other out. And then my answer is going to be what I have left. And in this case, I have 2 negative 1 tiles left, so my answer is going to be -2. Okay? Now, for this example, we're going to go backwards. Instead of starting out with the tiles, we're going to start out with the expression and use the tiles to figure out our answer. So this says 2 positives. So here's going to be my 2 positives. Oops. Not what I wanted. Okay. Here's 1, 2 positive 1 tiles. Plus a positive x. So I'm going to add my positive x. And then there are 4 negative 1 tiles. So that's going to be my white tiles. And I'm going to go ahead, add 4 of them. And then 3 negative x tiles. So here are my 3 negative x tiles. 1, 2, and 3. Now that I have my tiles, I'm going to go ahead and see, can I make any zero pairs? So I don't have any x squares. That's okay. I'm going to move on to my x's. And it looks like I have 1 positive, so I can group that with a negative. And there's 1 zero pair. I don't have any more positives, so there's no more zero pairs I can make. Now I go to the 1 tiles, and I have a positive and a negative here, and a positive and a negative here. So those will cancel each other out. And my answer is going to be what I have left over. I have 2 negative, I have 2 negative x tiles and 2 negative 1 tiles. So my answer is going to be -2x minus 2. Okay. And let's do one more example with expressions and having to come up with the tiles. Now here it says I have 1 positive x squared, so I'm going to go ahead and grab one of those. 2 negative 1 tiles, so let's grab 2 of those. And then another positive x squared, so I'm going to add that. And then 4 positive 1 tiles. Okay. Now that I have the tiles that I'm going to use, I'm going to try to come up with my zero pairs. Now, for my x squareds, they're both positive. There's no negative, so I have nothing to make a zero pair with. So I'm done with those. I move on to x's. There are no x tiles, so I don't need to worry about them, and we move on to the 1 tiles. Now for the 1 tiles, I have a positive and negative here, and a positive and negative here. So those are 2 zero pairs that I can cancel out. So now my answer is going to be what I have left over. I have 2 positive x squared tiles plus 2 1 tiles. And that gives me 2x squared plus 2. All right, so whether you get an expression and you want to draw out the tiles, or you get the tiles and you need to come up with the expression, the important thing to remember is that 1 positive and 1 negative make a zero pair and cancel each other out. So you're looking for your zero pairs, you're canceling them out, and whatever's left over is gonna be your answer. Okay? And as always, if you have any questions or need additional assistance, feel free to make an appointment with me for office hours. Hope you have a great day. Bye.